Hello, I'm here today with my associate discussing the afterlife and personifications of death. Do you want to kick us off with the afterlife? Before we start, quick disclaimer. We are going to get into topics of religion, such as heaven, hell, and reincarnation. So if you don't like those certain topics, you may not want to watch this video.
So there are several different types of common ghost. There are interactive personalities that they're just kind of, well, you can basically interact with them as you would a person. I believe those are ones that are associated with like Ouija boards and stuff. Poltergeists are the ones that are throwing stuff around your house. They're usually not too happy. They're very hard to get rid of. Mist ghosts, they're just like the faint cloud of mist that's, I don't know, in your basement that you see. Orbs, they usually hang around graveyards and stuff like that. Living ghosts are if you see a ghost of a person, but the person is still alive. So like if you move into a house and see like a little kid, I don't know, that's walking around, and then you come to find out that kid actually lived in the house and is still perfectly fine, just not too happy about moving. That is a living ghost. Inanimate objects that are ghosts, this could be stuff that's possessed, or it could just be energy that was very heavily infused into the object. And animal ghosts, it's basically, just animals that are ghosts. Like if you feel the energy of your cat around you that has died 4 years ago, or if you see your cat laying on your bed. Spirits are about the same thing. I don't think they're as noticeable as ghosts. Ghosts are more like something you see. I think spirits are more something you feel.
Alright, so this is the part we were discussing with religion. We're going to discuss heaven and hell real quickly, and then we're going to get to reincarnation. Heaven and hell. Describe heaven for us real quick.
Heaven is basically where you go when you die. You're surrounded by angels, and you usually get reunited with your family. And then hell is basically you get punished for eternity.
Reincarnation.
Reincarnation is basically the belief that you just keep cycling over and over. You die, you get born again. There is proof of this because there was a girl that from the age of 2, she had memories of Anne Frank. Like, she literally thought she was Anne Frank before she even knew who the heck this was. Like, she could go into her house and be like, oh yeah, that's my bedroom up there, without even, like, knowing. There's also a theory that reincarnation isn't real and it's just demons possessing humans, but I'm not going to get too deep into that. The personifications of death. We have the Grim Reaper, which was first, I guess, depicted in the 14th century during the time of the Black Death. The skeleton represents decay and mortality. The cloak is the mystery of death, of like when it's going to happen. The scythe is basically souls are the crops in life's field.
The example of death harvesting souls, similar to how you would harvest crops. That's why they added that in most of the versions of the Grim Reaper.
And then, do you want to discuss more about the other personifications of death?
We didn't finish with one of them. The hourglass, something associated with not just the Grim Reaper, but it's the concept of the passage of time and the inevitability of death getting you. Other personifications of death, physical manifestations in belief, are the Dullahan, which is a headless horseman in Irish folklore. It's a headless rider on horseback that carries its head underneath its arm. It carries this whip made of a human spine. When it stops riding, someone dies. It's mostly explained to use that whip to tear their eyes out in some versions. The Enku in, I think it was French folklore, the Enku is the first person in a village to die. They are meant to take the rest of the people in that village to the afterlife on a carriage. They also hold a scythe, and it's explained similar to the Grim Reaper for that reason. Death was one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. I won't get into that one much, as it's simple just explanation of death as a concept. But yeah. And then crows are another physical manifestation of death in books and movies. And it's an explanation of, like, because they're black, and it's a way of explaining how they lurk in the shadows and how death is kind of associated with that. I'm going to turn this back over to my partner so she can talk about the media influence on death.
I think that media has influenced on how we perceive death as far as, like, moral consequences go and cycles of life and death and rebirth. And also revenge seems to be a big one. We see a lot of, like, ghosts coming back from the dead to haunt people. Like in A Christmas Carol, that was one. Can you give us some examples of media that has this in it?
A form of media that has, like, the cycles of life, death, and rebirth would be, again, A Christmas Carol, as explained. One of them would be the movie Soul. I get it, it's a Disney film and it's made for kids, but it explains the concept of how somebody may die, and it explains how the before life, the afterlife, and the concepts of rebirth and how that would affect others. It's not exactly rebirth, it's more of the soul going back with the body, but yeah. Another one would be The Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos. It's a simple one, but we don't want to get too much into that. The concept of revenge and how even in the afterlife somebody can get vengeance.
So that is basically a ghost coming back from the dead to haunt somebody or to get revenge on something specific or a wrongful death. Stories like ghost stories would be, I don't know, let's say a ghost dies on a bridge because their car fell off the bridge for some reason. Well, their revenge could be throwing every single car that goes on that bridge off and killing everybody. That could be an example. There is actually a story, I don't remember which highway it is in Florida, but there were these people that died in the 16th century. They were buried, and then they went to build this highway, and they were like, okay, we're going to dig these people up, and, well, there was a hurricane that day, so they completely forgot and just kind of bulldozed over these people. So now that is, like, the most haunted, and it also has the most crashes of almost any highway in America, because there will be a lady just walking down the highway, and people think it's a real person, and then they swerve, and then a lot of people die. So this could be their revenge for not getting properly reburied.
Examples in media of afterlife and personifications of death. The Washington Irving, I think it was a novel, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, is one of the big ones. While it's not much about the afterlife, the Headless Horseman is considered to be a personification of death. Mostly he goes on with the whole vengeful spirit shtick that a lot of people use in movies and media and all that. headless rider, a headless Hessian soldier during the war, loses his head to a cannon, and his spirit is left alive until it's left, well, not alive, but you get what I mean. It's going to remain roaming the earth until it can get ahead or get its head back.
That was also a common theme at Gettysburg, seeing as that is one of the most haunted battlefields, because all these young men died and they had obviously stuff they wanted to do, and now they're just kind of hanging out there because they think they still need to fight in the war, even though it was finished more than 100 years ago at this point.
Yep. So a game, I actually played this. Not a lot of people know about this game. It's called Ghostmaster. It was a game where you take on this Ghostmaster and you're using your spirits to haunt houses. There was a type of spirit called restless spirits. They're trapped to an item, and you have to, lift their spirits up by completing what they wanted to do in life. So, or you complete by doing an objective. They even had the Headless Horseman in this game, but it was known as the Dragoon. Each spirit had a unique way of their death and a unique way to how you would get them. One of the spirits was a bride who was cheated on at the altar on her wedding day. So she went upstairs to the roof to see the lightning, and well, she got zapped.
Oof.
So her one is that so that she can get revenge on the man who betrayed her, and your objective is to scare away the nurses so that the doctor will get to, will basically go down there and laugh at her corpse, and she just laces into him, scares him away. Another movie that would do this is Beetlejuice. This goes less with the restless spirits, but more into the afterlife. The afterlife and the spirits in the afterlife remaining there as ghosts and all that. I'm not going to get much into Beetlejuice. The Birds. Why did we put this one down again?
Because of their personification of death.
The Birds kind of personified death, and yeah, I think they were crows too, so that adds on to that. The Mask of the Red Death is a book based on the Black Death. It's a masquerade, and it's meant to explain how death can be among you. Even when you think you're safe, nobody escapes it. A Christmas Carol is a weird one to use, but it's an effective one. An explanation of spirits being left there and also tormented for some sins. The ghost of Jacob Marley was one of those. He was tormented for his greed in life. I would mention Final Destination, but I'm not going to explain it. Final Destination personifies death with Tony Todd, which makes sense in its own right, and explains the afterlife and how death will always come for you. The Thing doesn't completely personify death, but it explains how death can walk among you and can be anywhere, at any time, and can look like anyone. How do we want to leave off this episode here?
I guess we'll give the audience some things to think about. I guess, what do you think gives life meaning? Do we deserve second chances? And how do we live knowing we will die eventually?
Alright, that concludes the episode. Live life and live it to the fullest and all.